Here we are.
Here we are. Good. I think we found it out. Why?
This is the Swear Medema and Dr. Deb Carlin show where we are talking about resilience. And, we can start this out by talking about technological resilience. I mean, to talk about what the whole world is doing is one thing, the weather, the chemtrails, all that, whatever you want to talk about. But, the thing that really gets us is in the activities of daily living, whether it's personal or it's in your business life. The activity of daily living can like make you feel like, ah, and you need your resilience. So Swear and I are relatively new to one another, and we've done a couple of episodes. The first episode, bingo, we did it. You've seen it. It's on his YouTube channel, Swear Medema. It's on the Dr. Deb Carlin YouTube channel, and it was great. And then and then we ran into technical glitches. And you know what? I'm really proud of both him and I because we are true to our connection, our new relationship, friendship, business partnership in here, and our theme of resilience. So neither one of us did that freak out mode, but we expressed to one another, now, wait a second, what happened? Because our Zoom recordings were verstunken, as we say.
Yeah.
But we worked our way through it. And then we showed up early for each other today to make sure that we could record, stop, leave, render, check it, come back in, hit record again, and then just for double insurance, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way. And this is a funny thing. Something went wrong in the updating of Zoom, and it all what got mangled. Let's call it that way. Or the whole
Yeah,
video.
yeah. And so here's the thing that people seem to forget. I mean, you and I included.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the work that I do and the moniker that I have for being about keep your head in the right place and don't let stress defeat you and don't let a circumstance, a perception about how stressful it is disrupt a relationship at all or any work process or anything. Because when you let go of that, I can keep reminding myself, well, I can't act like an idiot. I'm supposed to be cool-headed. Then you can push yourself into that. So for all of our listening audience, if you're a pro at this, keep reminding yourself when you bump up against the wall, hey, wait a second, I know how to handle this. I teach people this. And if you're not, say, wait a second, I don't need to do this. I don't need to disrupt my energy. This is me here. Like I've in dealing with patients over the last week in particular, I've had so many people say to me, well, I don't know what to tell you, Dr. Carlin, but this is just me. This is who I am. This is how I am. Oh, does that mean that there's some version of you who's in charge of this you that I'm experiencing right now? Like, is there some divide here? No. What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is I want you to understand. I want you to answer my question. Who's in charge of your thoughts? It's just me. I've always been this way. Always been this way. So you mean to tell me that when you were in utero, you were in there fussing? That's what the kicking was about? It wasn't that you were growing. It was just you were fussing. You were irritated. You were stressed. Well, what kind of question is that? Well, I think it's actually kind of a comical question, but so if it's you, you've always been this
I found
way.
it comical.
Yeah, exactly. When did you start to get this way? And then people start to remember, an incident, a trauma, a tragedy, something, anything.
Oh, ghost.
Ah, there we go. Excuse me. I was beckoning for a blessing there. Um, then they remember, oh, when I lost control of my thinking was when I got so scared and so stressed. And that's a great entry point for any of us to teach the lessons of resilience of, okay, this is an incident. Wait a second. I'm still breathing.
Yeah. You're still
My heart is
functioning.
still beating. I'm still alive. I can control my thoughts, but I have to become aware that I can control my thoughts. So what are my next thoughts going to be? Now I have people doing all kinds of things. Did I teach you the finger trick for calming down?
Not to me anyway.
I know,
Let
this
me
is
see
a good
that.
one. So This is about if you are really tense, put your fingers together
Okay, like this.
and see if you can focus on your fingertip pattern.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah,
It draws you in, doesn't it?
absolutely.
And then you kind of want to see if you could go with it a little bit. So when you are out of sorts, do this for a moment. It changes your breathing.
Yeah, and it focuses your attention.
It does. That's
Focuses,
right.
and that's the trick.
That is the trick.
Trick
And so
is that.
there are all kinds of things like that that we've been learning for as long as we've been in existence as mankind, to when we get stressed, what to do. And another one is to activate the vagus nerve. And there's a lot of ways to do it, but one of my favorite ones is to take your fingers and run them up and down behind your ear, both ears, and you ought to feel a little tingly.
Yeah.
And what's happening is you're activating the vagus nerve. You are actually dropping the diaphragm, which sits up high under your rib cage.
Hmm.
And when you get tense, it's tight and it actually pushes up against your lungs, reducing your oxygen capacity. You can't breathe in deeply because your lungs are pushing against
Yeah.
your diaphragm.
This is
So when you
pleasant.
do this,
This is
you
pleasant.
relax it.
Yeah.
And when you take a full breath, you get the air, you get the oxygen, and then you start saying, okay, every little thing is going to be all right here. And then you start releasing serotonin instead of cortisol into your bloodstream. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it works every time. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I do is I try to help people understand that you have two types of thinking. I call them helpful thinking and non-helpful thinking.
Yeah.
Helpful thinking will always make you feel great.
Okay.
It will always gives you energy.
Mm-hmm.
The sad thing, it's over before you know it.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing about it. And afterwards, you'll be grateful you experienced that.
Well, so
That's
how do you teach people what is helpful thinking and what do you tell them to do?
well, this is what you experience. This is what you feel, what you experience when you have a helpful thought.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a non-helpful thought, and that's a thought which I call less than neutral. Neutral is okay. We can deal with it neutral. As soon as it gets less than neutral, it will make you feel awful. It'll cost you heaps of energy. It'll cost you time because you're trying to solve it. And
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, you'll be thinking, how did I get here? What happened? What on earth drove me to do that or think that or and it's not helping. And the sad thing is about it, it's eating away at about 30 to 70% of our thinking capacity.
So how do you train people? What do you tell them to do?
Well, when you have a thought, and we have thoughts all the time, when you have a thought, look at it and see how it feels. Because feeling is infallible. As soon as your feeling says, I don't like this, or
Yeah.
there's something about this, or there's, yeah, well, I get these faces with it, but still, but you get a feeling about the thought. You always immediately get a feeling about a thought. As soon as it's less than neutral, discard it. Don't pay
So
attention.
what
Yeah,
you're talking about is coherence
yeah.
between thinking and feeling. And do you point people to their heart or to their stomach for
Um,
feelings?
doesn't matter really. Just look for the feeling. The feeling is enough. The feeling will tell you how to deal with that.
Okay.
And the feeling is much less. It's less work than well, going into your heart, going to your stomach. How do I feel there? That's more work. It's more exercise. Let's call it that way. And what I say, just listen to the feeling. Your feeling is infallible. It's really infallible. And as soon as a bus is driving towards you, you step aside. You step aside.
Do
and you
people ever
will.
ask you, what do you mean by feeling? Like, where am I supposed to get my feelings from? How do I influence my feelings?
You don't.
You
You don't influence your feelings. Your feelings happen. It's a response to your thinking.
don't? Okay, so feelings are an influence produced by your thinking.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
think.
okay. So when people are feeling something, where are they feeling it at? Are they feeling it in their mind or are they feeling it in some part of
Feeling
their body?
in your experience, in your mind, probably. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And often it transports to your stomach or your heart or your throat, or it can have all kinds
right.
of physical reactions to that. But that's
There you go.
after already you have already have the feeling.
Yeah.
Have done that quite a few times in the past, not listening to my feeling and doing it anyway. And man, was I sorry afterwards.
Yeah. Well, so what I was trying to get at is this theme of coherence in the theme of resilience. When people are out of sorts in their head,
Hmm.
it's hard to say what's happening first. They're having an emotional response where they're not thinking consciously, but they're just in a rage. They
Hmm.
just burst through, and
Yeah.
they're feeling it in their gut or they're feeling it in their heart
Yes,
because their
but
heart rate is going up.
yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, hang on a second. As soon as you get the alarm bell from your body,
Hmm.
get your thoughts straight so that your
Nice.
thoughts can then
Yes.
guide and reroute your
It's
feelings.
great that you bring that up because
Okay.
I last year I had 4 or 5 anger management clients who just came up one after another. I don't know where they came from, but suddenly I got 4 or 5 clients who were wrestling with anger.
Okay.
So I said, okay, you get angry at some stage and you don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. So, okay, anger always builds up. It doesn't explode in your face. It always you're first you're getting a little bit irritated, then you get a little bit more irritated, and then at some stage you say, "Wow, now it's too much, and now I'm going to hit the ball or whatever you're going to do." Doesn't matter what you do, but it always builds up. You can feel that. You can feel your irritation. As soon as you feel irritation, move away. Stop it right there. But then you have some way to control it.
And what do you mean when you say move away? Physically?
Move your attention away from that cause which is in front of you.
Okay.
Stop that. Because it's much more effective of stop doing things
Yeah.
than actually doing things.
And did people ask you, how do you expect me to stop it?
Yeah.
And what do you tell them?
And I said, okay, you've developed this anger habit. I call it an anger habit. You've developed this anger habit, which worked for you in the past because you grew up in an atmosphere where anger, for some reason, served the purpose. Now you're living in a different environment where it doesn't serve a purpose. So you need to get rid of this. So now you need to learn to unlearn your habit. That's what you need to do. And as soon as you start feeling up this irritation, because you know it builds up. You know from yourself. I know for myself that when I get angry, yeah, at first I'm a little bit irritated, and a little bit more, and it builds up. It's always the same story. It never just explodes in your face. Never. So you feel that. Answer to it. Divert your attention. Go for a walk if that helps. Do something else. At least don't go on the same path. Don't carry on there because you'll know where it will end.
So I have a challenge for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes anger is immediately because you're in a situation where something flares up and it's absolutely irate, the reaction that you have. So I can give you an example. There is a there is a person, I'm walking my dog. I've
Hmm.
got her on a leash. There's a person who has let their dog run off leash, and that dog is all of a sudden within range of my dog, and my arm is about ready to get pulled off of my socket because that dog is charging my dog.
Hmm.
So I'm having to pull her back in. She's trained, but I'm having to pull her back in because she is immediately excited and I am immediately in panic and anger mode. Why isn't your dog on a lead? It's the protocol for the park.
Hmm.
So in that moment, I'm immediately furious and I pull my dog back. And my solution to bring myself back together is to gain control of her. I'm still angry.
Hmm.
And as that person approaches, I am yelling at them, restrain that dog, restrain that dog, restrain that dog. And then that person is aggravated or very apologetic. I'm sorry, or give me a break. And my reaction to that is go away, go away. But the point is, anger can pop up in a nanosecond. People can get inflamed because of a situation.
Yes.
It's not like I have an anger habit with my boss or my spouse or something. When anger comes up like that, get control of the situation. So what's making you angry, you are controlling,
And that's fine. And
but and
that's
and get away. And then you can control your thoughts.
yeah, that's fine. But what you do is you deal with the situation. Now the situation is the cause, not you. When you have when you should have when you would have an anger problem, don't think you have, otherwise we would have been fighting already. And but when you have an anger problem, you would build up, and you I would see in your tone of voice, your face, your behavior that you were getting aggravated for some
Yeah,
reason. Yeah,
sure.
and those are signs we pick up. We do
But you
because
agree that it is not always a habit. There's times and
absolutely
situations where it's
that
instant.
absolutely, and that's
Okay,
the
good.
only exclusion I take from that, because there are
Caveat.
always small, yeah, caveat, thank you. There are small instances. It's same as it has always earlier said. If a bus is driving towards you, you step aside. You're not going to argue with the bus. You lose anyway.
Well,
So
that's
and
not
there's
about anger. That's about fear.
yeah, that's fear, of course, but it's same story. If the thought you are having is caused by an outside factor, which is a crisis or something like that, could be, of course. We all have those situations once in a while. Hopefully not too often, but we do have those situations. Respond to it, and then find yourself again. Try to build yourself back again. And that's okay, because we have been responding like that for ages. And it's saved our life more often than not.
Hmm.
So that's fine. And you should respond to that moment, because sometimes there are circumstances you need to respond to. If
So
someone's got,
here's the beautiful thing. Um, One of the habits that people often don't develop is the other side of the coin here, and that's the relaxation response exercise.
Mhm.
That's the meditation. I don't talk a lot about meditation because there's so many interpretations of a meditation.
Mhm.
What I talk to people about is actually learning the biofeedback methodology. So I want you to learn to relax your mind so that you can learn to be in control of it. So we start out in a very nice way. I want you to get a blood pressure cuff, put it on your arm, sit quietly for 10 minutes, take your blood pressure. Okay. Now I want you to have a video that you watch called the relaxation response exercise. It's Googleable with Dr. Herbert Benson, famous
Mhm.
cardiologist out of Harvard University. And he teaches the relaxation response. Why? Because at Harvard, as a cardiologist, who were his patients? Well, all these high-powered executives who were having heart events, having heart attacks and strokes and needing procedures done. And they were all hypertensive because they were hyper intense.
Yeah.
So he traveled around the world trying to figure out why, when I get these gentlemen healed up, is the rate of recidivism so high? And what he found was he needed to discover where in the world was this not an issue. And so he found where the incidence of it is very low. And lo and behold, it was in Tibet with the monks.
Yeah.
And people said, yeah, well, if I was living in Tibet being a monk, I wouldn't have anything to have high blood pressure about either. Really? Horrible weather conditions, very uncomfortable physically. These guys aren't sitting on overstuffed couches and recliners. The food supply is awful, and you have the Chinese army that would like to
Hmm.
come in and invade Tibet all the time.
Yeah.
So, um, he took their techniques and then he realized, I'm going to get lynched if I bring this back to the United States. So what he did was he Americanized it, and it's a very simple exercise that people can do that takes 10 minutes where you are talking to yourself and describing to yourself that your entire body is relaxed, one piece at a time. And then on every exhale, you're saying the number one to yourself to interrupt any thought that comes in there that, like, okay, I'm sitting here trying to relax. Wonder if I paid that bill. Oh, did I empty the dishwasher? Did I did I turn off the oven before I left the house? And he teaches you how to interrupt yourself so that you can do this. And then as soon as you're done with that exercise, you take your blood pressure again while you're still sitting there before you say anything. And what you see is that your blood pressure is decreased. Now, what people will say to me is, well, yeah, but I was sitting there by myself just for 10 minutes. And so what? We'll keep doing it. I mean, you took the first blood pressure after you were sitting there by yourself for 10 minutes, and it was that. And then another 10 minutes doing this exercise, it's lower. And it's
Hmm.
always lower, unless you
Yeah.
completely botched it, which is hard to do. And what people realize is over time, not only can they become normotensive, and that's where I come in, working with them with their physicians, we're titrating them back off these harmful, dangerous, side effective medications and they are training their mind to work to be in coherence with their body so that they know how to get calm, but
Yeah.
even stay calm. So their threshold for frustration raises. Yeah, it takes a lot to get me really aggravated, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be like up to here before I'm really going to get agitated and start screaming at anybody. And it's beautiful. So, I want our audience to understand that they can be in control. You can be the master of your mind.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing what happens. I always tell my clients I'm going to reduce their threshold for stress because
Okay.
what I tell them is say I'm going to lower your resilience to stress, and that sounds funny because wait a minute, that's not the point. You should heighten my resilience to stress. No, I want you to be aware of your stress earlier so you can take countermeasures. As soon as you find, oh, I'm getting a bit annoyed or stressed or something is not fine, something's not okay, you should be aware of it so you can take countermeasures. And countermeasures is just paying attention to what am I thinking right now? Am I worried about that payment I need to make in 2 weeks' time and I don't have the money and whatever it is you're worrying about? Yes, okay. Let's not do this because it won't bring me anything. Am I going to worry about that thing in 2 weeks' time? I can't foresee what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time. I might win the lottery. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It
Right.
doesn't, it's not important. It's just the fact that you are pushing yourself up by paying attention to that feeling. That's not a good feeling. I don't like that. Just discard it. And the funny thing is, there's no point in paying attention to thoughts which don't help you. There's no
Right.
point.
Right. Absolutely. So, how long do you end up working with people before they really get it?
Most of the time, three conversations. They pop after three conversations most of the time. I had this young man who was great. He was very worked up, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I need to get this right, and I need to fix this." And I said, "What do you want to fix?" Yeah, well, I've got this idea of how my relationship should be, and it's not working that way. So maybe I should end the relationship. Okay, what's the idea? Well, she should be like this, and she should be like that. Well, if you are already starting with some demands of how your partner should be, what's there to discover? And you start thinking about that. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm taking away quite a bit of my whole fun of the relationship. Yeah. So wouldn't it be much more fun just to start discovering how she is and what she likes and what she doesn't like and what you like and what you don't like and so forth, and just exchange that and see
Hmm.
how that works. And he started thinking about that and said, "Oh yeah, there's a point there." Hmm. Well, I said, as soon as you are taking some outside image of how your relationship should be, then you're restricting yourself to that image, and that's in that way you're putting on blinders, and looking at your partner with blinders, and you can only see what's in front of the blinders, but what's there, the whole area there, you can't see that. It's a
Right.
shame. It's a shame. Why would you do that? It's crazy. And he sat there with an open mouth. He couldn't come up with an answer. I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, yeah."
Right.
And afterwards, he said, "How do you do that? How do you always make me feel better than when I get out than when I get in? How do you do that?" I said,
What do you
I'm
tell
not
them?
I'm not doing it. I'm just giving you something to consider, and you do the work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
We
always our
just
work.
need, right, we need to get pulled out of what's going wrong here and get some new, bright, vibrant ideas. So on that note, Um, we ought to leave our audience telling them that we'll be back in another week with
It's
another
already done.
way and another set of topics, another set of tricks for them. So we've given them a couple. We've given them the finger exercises. We've given them the vagus nerve exercise. We've given them the awareness exercise, the relaxation response, and the thought changing. What are you doing that for? Take the blinders off exercise. Congratulations. This was a good show.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful, Deb.
It really was wonderful.
I know a nice exercise for next time.
Great.
It's about awareness and
Okay, great.
how to recognize that.
Well, we'll have everybody at the edge of their seat waiting with bated breath. That'll be great.
And one
So
would be
till next
wonderful.
time, folks, this is Dr. Deb Carlin signing off with
Sweet and have a wonderful time in the meantime.